So I know before I've showed the, I believe these are Maxina mud flaps that I put on my truck, because after trying 2 other types, I finally discovered that Maxina, as far as I can tell, is the only one that fills in this hole behind the left rear wheel. And what I'm talking about is, if we get under the truck here, that there is, zoom out here a little, there we go, just this big wide open hole, because caused by the exhaust pipe, I think, and Ford just went cheap. They used plastic. If you look on the other side over there, that whole box behind the right hand rear wheel is all plastic, and I think they just realized that over the exhaust, even on the hybrid, plastic isn't the greatest idea. It would melt, I don't know, probably while you were sitting in traffic or whatever. So I decided it was time to add one of those blockout panels that a few different manufacturers make. And as I'm looking under here, I can just see now, 2 years ago I touched up everything with some coating to try and cover it up, and I can never remember the name of the stupid stuff, but that's what's sort of causing that black oily look. But right there, it almost looks like I might have a little bit of surface rust just starting, and this is exactly what I'm trying to prevent, because this is an area, as you can see, there's a lot of dirt and whatever when you drive and spray, especially in the wintertime when it's salt spray. If you live up in the snow country, you're going to find that this gets sandblasted just because it's behind the wheel. The mud flaps help, but they're not complete. You really need a barrier to block that, so that's what we're putting in here. So this is the product as it comes out of the box. Instructions, bag with interesting little wrench and some bolts and interesting fasteners. Be interesting to figure out how this all goes together. They got a rubber grommet, looks like, or some sort of, I don't know, washers maybe. And then we have a few brackets and plates that will cover up that hole that Ford left behind, and these are metal. They feel like aluminum, but they will obviously, I'm pretty sure that is aluminum, might be steel, but either way, even if it's steel, I can spray it down with the same spray coating I use, undercoating stuff, and that will take care of all of this. And this will protect the frame of the truck, which is really what I'm after, because of course the Maverick being a unibody truck, if this bed or the bed rails or any of that rot out, that's the back of the vehicle. It's just like if you have a car and your trunk rusts out, eventually it's going to compromise the vehicle. It's not like a normal pickup truck where you could rip the bed off, put a deck on, and keep on running. Your frame is the bed is the frame is the bed. So here, looking at our instructions, they give us a whole setup of what's included, and I may have all of it. If not, I know I have tools. That's obviously for those. We'll need a ratchet socket to go ahead and install these. One thing I do find, actually I like the look of, is they have these pressed in inserts that the hardware threads into on these brackets and on this plate, which makes me think it's a little bit better quality than just, you know, cheap hardware, cheap nuts, like some kits from China, which obviously this is, include. So yeah, we'll... Okay, so the next part of the instructions doesn't quite match what is on my truck, but basically this bracket right here It kind of makes the rear upright of the bed. It has a couple wire standoffs, and you gotta pop them loose because I think you're gonna use that hole. I can get my hand out of here. There you go. That hole right there for a bracket, but I think they showed this one too, and I'm not sure why, because on my truck it's actually back here, or on their picture they're showing back here. On my truck the standoff was over here, so I don't know if I had to pull that one loose or not. And then they're showing these two brackets getting mounted on this upright pillar, which is good because it's one of the few real solid things back here. The rest of this is all plastic, as you can see, until we get over here to the bed rails. And then looking at our instructions again, you have these two pieces. This is C, it's one that sort of looks like a letter C, I guess. I don't know. You have some imagination. And then this is D. This is the one that has almost like a weird folded two-way type of thing to it. What you're going to do is you're going to have it so that it comes from behind and sticks forward, like so, and the bolt goes in from that side. And then, okay, so now you can see how it's installed. That's the other end of the bolt there. This is the bracket right here, and then the head of the bolt up here behind these wires going through that way. So that's your C bracket, and then we do the D bracket. Bracket D is actually attached by an existing bolt. This is part of what holds the truck together, probably holds the back bumper on, if I'm guessing. And that's also a 10mm nut, just like bracket C. You're going to add a 10mm nut there, but this is an existing one to attach bracket D to your truck. And then with that bolt removed, take your bracket with the bolt, already in it, put it up in place, and because of the tab on the forward side, it will fit in there very nicely. And then it's just a matter of tightening that bolt down. This flange is, of course, what the plate is going to, the protection plate is going to attach into, just like there. Okay, and then on this cross member right here, like I talked about, you have these nuts with these little legs. They come in from the top, like so, and squeeze those tabs down through the hole, like that, and that is how it's going to be secured. And then as you tighten the bolts into those nuts, those tabs are going to flare out and squeeze tightly into that. And in particular, this was the bracket I was the most concerned about rusting out and allowing everything to flap in the breeze. So this is nice that this is covering all that up. And then for the next part, you need an 18mm socket, and there are two bolts on what is essentially the frame rail of the unibody, and you're gonna have to remove both bolts that are on the bottom there, because those are actually what hold your bumper on, your rear bumper, and they actually will hold the heat shield in place, or the protective shield in place when it is all insecure. So those are your two bolts there, and those are the holes in the frame that they go into. And this would be a good point if you have some more of that protective spray to go ahead and hit, I don't know, any surface rust you see, but also the insides of those holes and the inside of that frame rail, anything you can reach, because it's going to make your truck just last a little bit longer. Okay, so here is the forward plate in place, and as you can see, I've got that bumper bolt going through here, and then one of those bolts that goes into the insert here, and one more bolt goes right there. As soon as I get it all set up here, so that everything will go, because whenever you do any type of work like this, start everything loose. Don't tighten anything down until you have all the fasteners started. All your bolts, all the screws, you know, the 10mm bolts that go into these things. Don't tighten any of it until you're all ready to go. Now obviously brackets that are going to be hidden, tighten those ahead of time, but anything after this, you want to wait until you know you've got them all started so that everything aligns the way that it needs to. Okay, so for this one, I'm just gonna try and show you an easy way for it to go together. Hopefully you catch the action from here, but you want to take this other plate that you need to put in, and basically you're going to have this flange upwards. This tab is going to end up over there, and the trick is rotate it 90 degrees to how you want, stick it up behind your exhaust, and then just kind of pivot it around, and it'll go in place without any real fighting or anything like that. Then put one of your bumper bolts like so, and align all the rest of the hardware and the different brackets and nut plates and whatever until you get it all together. Okay, and they don't explain it super well in the instructions, but you got small holes here and big holes here. So the big holes are the ones you want to use big washers on the 10mm bolts, and the little holes are where you want to use the little washers on the 10mm bolts as you assemble this whole plate in place. Obviously these ones already have a washer type thing, and these have washers as well for the forward ones, so you don't need to do anything with that, but these back here. So before you tighten everything down, just with all the bolts started, this is what you're going to see up under here. Those 3 and then these 2, and then you tighten it all down, and if you don't want to use this funky little socket wrench thing they gave you for tightening these forward ones, a 3/4 inch socket fits on there nice and snug, and you can tighten them up with your ratchet. So overall, this actually does make a nice block off plate, seals up the area very well, actually fits the contours of the frame and the vehicle very well, and should last probably as long as the truck, considering it is powder coated steel, and fits very well. And most of all, not going to have this void where salt from the tires can get so easily thrown up and flow around inside the bed. It'll protect it just like the plastic does on that side.